Hi everyone, I'm Andrew Cohn. Thank you for coming and watching my video. I'm sure many of you are wondering why I'm doing a announcement of my own this time, but I just kind of feel like I need to do something. I have written a paper that I think might be a good idea, and I feel like people need to discuss it, maybe add ideas or improve upon it. And the reason for this is because as best as I try to do, I try to be outside of the political party lines as best as I can. I'm not always great at it, but I think each and every one of us do try our best to not totally believe one side of the argument. But when you're looking at everything that's happening outside from outside, you can see what is happening. You can see it in our politics, you can see it in our media, you can see it on big tech company websites such as like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google, YouTube. We are at an increasing rate being separated, divided into basically what we call tribes. Both sides are continuously attacking each other. And it doesn't matter what side they are. It can be Republican or it can be Democrat. And I think we all need to realize that this kind of needs to stop if we're going to have this country keep on going. And we need to start listening to each other and coming to a consensus on things. And right now, it's extremely difficult to do. I think that it can be done. It's going to take a lot of work, and it's definitely not gonna be with the people that we currently have in office. I feel that our government currently as it is completely failed us, and I'm not referring to the system of government that we have. I think we have a good foundation. I think it's more along the lines of the politicians we have in office. We have had politicians in office for an extended amount of time. We have one that's been we have a Republican that's been in office for 40 years. We have another Republican like Mitch McConnell who's been in for 36 years. I believe the one that was in office for 40 now is Chris Grassley, I believe his name is. And then you have Nancy Pelosi, who's been in for 33 years. So there's two Democrats and two Republicans. Joe Biden's been in at least in that office since, before the presidency. Has been in, well, he's at least been in politics since, I think, 1973. I could be wrong on that. Feel free to correct me on that. I appreciate any corrections on anything I get wrong. Thank you. But honestly, they're not helping. They're making the situation worse, and with everything that's going on with COVID, it's continuing to make everything get worse. And especially with big tech companies showing a bias that they obviously have, and we can all agree on that, I think. And yes, they are private companies, but they also sit under, I believe, Section 230, which also marks them as a public platform. So the private company argument doesn't really work in this instance, but to take it to the point on that is that they're supposed to be, like I said, a public platform, and they are literally the center point of current public discourse. And that's why there needs to be some kind of regulation and a neutrality of these companies, but they're blatantly not doing that. Anyway, I'm sure many of you are asking, let's see here. I got a couple questions written down for us. So I'm sure everybody is wondering how exactly we end the constant attacking of both sides and start repairing the divide that we have. And I think that is bringing up topics that that we can all agree on. And I think my paper has a lot of that. I think a big part of it is we need to start getting a lot of these old politicians who have been in office for a long time out and bringing in basically new blood, new ideas, bringing in new people. I feel like that these people have been in for decades at this point, and it shows that we can't have the people in for that long, in the same seat for that long, for that matter. The next question is, what is exactly on my paper? And that's what we're going to be going over right now. So I'm going to go ahead and fix this camera here. Boom. There we go. So it's not an official name. I just called it an agreement between the people and politicians because honestly, it needs to be done. I'm sure some people who can come up with a better idea will come up with a better title for this. It's a series of things. As you can see on the side, there's a list. It usually says, just has all the subject titles that I have on it. I'm not going to go over each individual thing. I kind of did that yesterday. This isn't really my first video I made. This is probably the second main video I made. I made a video yesterday that ended up stemming out to about 45 minutes. I know a lot of people don't really have the time to sit here and listen to this the whole entire time. And I'm going to try and cut this 20 minutes max. I'm basically just going to go over each subject title so you know exactly what is in my paper rather than me going in over each individual thing. I will be doing a video for each one individually. Some are shorter than others on my ideas. So I may do one or two later on, but something like, let's say, term limits, campaign finance reform, and policy are definitely going to be their own videos. So basically, right out the gate, you can actually pause this and read it, but I'm going to read this out to you because this is what I typed, and I should be proud of what I've typed. Although my grammar isn't exactly the best. If you can help me make it better, 100%, I'll take that. I didn't exactly go to an English teacher and ask her for corrections on it. So it says, today we are seeing problems every day due to the politicians we have in office. More and more evidence that politicians are not what they're supposed to be, servicemen and women. The point of a politician is to serve the people and the country, to represent the people. Originally in our country, being a politician was not a full-time job. That is, as far as I'm aware, true. But over time, that has changed because now it is a full-time job. Where am I? Oh, yeah. Now being a politician can be almost akin to a celebrity considering how much they're in the spotlight in the media and the internet. The issue that comes with this is the fact that this kind of attention and status can attract the wrong kind of people. People who only look to enrich themselves or gain power with these positions now become a full-time job. People now are now turning this into a career where some politicians have been in office for 20 plus years. And I already named 4 off, 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats. So you can sit there and say that I was not being partisan with this. I am saying both sides are the problem. With many of these representatives now getting into old age, which Joe Biden, I believe, is 78, 79 years old. I know for a fact because I looked this up. Nancy Pelosi is 81. I'm sure Mitch McConnell's up there. The only reason why I really knew Joe Biden was because of his basically his presidential run. But anyway, you begin to tell that the constant work and the control of power has a negative effect on their minds. And I would say that kind of length would have an effect on just about everybody. With the passage of time, new technologies can and are being introduced into our world that many of these representatives cannot fathom. Technology at this point evolves, changes, and improves at rates that even the younger generations have trouble keeping up with at times. How can we expect people who are in office at the age of 60 to 80 years old to be able to understand and create policy and regulation for it? In time, technology, society, and much else changes, and I feel that our representatives also need to change along with it. Having people remain in power for extended lengths of time has already been proven to cause corruption and complacency. Our current leadership is now old. Some of them have served since the late 70s. The world today is a completely different place now than it was back then. It's honestly pretty different from 10 years ago. So how can we expect elderly people to be able to keep up with these changes? We can't. Honestly, I skipped a line there. Well, we can't. I believe with the change of the presidency, the rest needs to change as well. Otherwise, the question is, how exactly do we change the government to keep up with the changing of our society? Well, everything I'm about to talk to you is my idea to how we can do that. But first, take into account that everything here is thought up by myself and is subject to debate and improvements. Some things can be removed, some things can be, and I honestly think that a lot needs to be added. But this is purely everything that's come off of my head. Come right out of here, out of this noggin. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be far from it. It takes a lot of people to perfect something, and I don't think even then it will be perfect. I think we need to write documents and actually write laws in a way that can be improved over time. Things can change, and let's be honest, lawyers find every way possible to get around anything. And when they get around something and we're like, no, that shouldn't happen, it should be updated so that doesn't happen. And I'm sure I'm sure all of you agree with that those adjustments, those improvements into policy and regulation and laws should be made. But anyway, let's go on ahead and go over. I'll read off all the topics for you. So first, we got term limits. I have many things in it, of course. As I said, you can pause this and read over it yourself. I will go ahead and just scroll down it slowly so you can actually pause it where you need to. Pay and pay raises, retirement, campaign finance reform, lobbying, buying, and receiving payment. This is probably going to need the most added to it, to be perfectly honest with you. But like I said, it's just mainly a lot of things that came off the top of my head. And I'm not a professional at this. I don't have any, formal education in this kind of topic. These are just things that me as a normal, everyday person has come up with. Outside influence in our politicians, budget, citizens and legal immigrants. What I'm basically saying in this one is the well-being of the citizens and legal immigrants. It takes priority everything else. A good economy so people can become enriched, so people can gain more equity in the economy, in a free market, so on and so forth. Policy. Basically, all I say in that is you just need to be clear, concise, and to the point. There's a lot more to it we'll cover in another video. And I wrote a lot on it. Political party. I think there's going to be needed a lot to be added to this as well. So then we have Supreme Court, the FBI, CIA, ATF, and all other government agencies like the NSA and what was another one? The IRA. Then we have teamwork failure, which talks about basically talks about in situations where the government can't accomplish anything, like for instance right now, and both sides are to blame. It happened during 2016 to 2020. It happened during the Obama administration. It's happening now. It happens from both sides. You can look at both sides and say they're a problem. You can't point fingers at one. Foreign aid. Then we have election integrity. And this is definitely a debatable topic. I'd have to hear this is what I think. You can debate with me as much as you want on it. It'll take quite a bit, but I'm willing to hear your arguments on it. So please, feel free to make a comment in the comment section and give me your opinion on it. The Constitution. is the last one. And then also I have been typing down things that should happen if this ever gets put into place. After everybody has looked at it, after everybody has offered ideas and have said that they like this, and so on and so forth. And I wrote at the end of it, I said, I feel that this is all that is all needed, and we as a people should discuss and debate these topics. Today we have too many politicians who are disconnected from the communities for whom they represent and serve. A big part of this is due to how long some of these people have been in these positions. To a few from the federal government, as an example, and I already said this off, Joe Biden, 36 years in office, Mitch McConnell, 36 years in office, Chuck Grassley, 40 years in office, Nancy Pelosi, 33 years in office. And I'm sure those aren't the only offices either of any of them have held. I'm pretty sure there's documents or videos when Joe Biden was in office, like I think in 1973, 1974. I could be wrong on that, though. You can feel free to correct me on that. I'll be doing my own research as well. These are only a couple examples of politicians who have been in office for an extended amount of time. These four are all Democrats and Republicans. They're also some of the oldest people holding a political office, and in my opinion, are some of the most disconnected from not just their district's constituents, but from the American people as a whole. We shouldn't allow people to hold a position of power for this long, as power can and will easily corrupt people, and that alone isn't the only reason. Having these positions for decades at a time is a ridiculous responsibility, considering our society, technology, needs, and conditions are always changing throughout time and history. We need our government to change along with it and bring in new ideas, new solutions as well. By implementing this, we can assure that our representatives and government keeps up with the ever-changing times, ever-changing society, and ever-changing technology. Term limits alone won't solve all the problems we have within our government, but they will help. We realize today what Congress said when enacting term limits upon the presidential office, that having too much power for too long will corrupt people. It's not the specific, I definitely didn't quote it correctly. I will say that. That's why I didn't put it in quotations, because it's not a quote. It's basically me saying what I think I remember them saying. I tried looking it up and couldn't find it. If somebody finds that specific quote, please send it to me. I'll put that in there. But anyway, I believe to solve many other issues within our government, we have to look at a series of different subjects, such as their pay, retirement, campaign reform, how they write policy, outside sources of income like lobbying, fundraising, speeches, and making money from campaigning. There is much more than this to be brought up in discussion and debate, because I also believe that many of these can and will contribute to corruption. So that is the end of my video for now. Like I said, I will cover each of these things individually, and you don't have to pause the video to read this now. You can actually send me a message, send me an email. I will share that in the as a comment underneath the video on Facebook, or as a title on it. Otherwise, I will share it in the information below on YouTube. Thank you for giving this a watch, and I hope to see you on the next one, and where I cover it all. And 100% send me a message, as I said before. I will send you the paper itself, and also, if possible, can you please like, comment, subscribe, share this video as much as possible so everybody can actually see it. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.